The earth was born anew when those in their wisdom give me birth, and we all say it was good. From sleepless nights to days of toil, I humbly came into existence. Steadfastly, work has been done, no matter who call, man, woman, boy, or girl. No task has been too menial, and no labor deemed too great. So I simply ask your respect. Don't call me just a desk for women. Today, as we come together, we came on a day that is most suiting because yesterday we celebrated International Women's Day. 20 years ago, in the Beijing Declaration and a platform for action aimed at greater equality and opportunities for women was signed in China in 1995. And I think today is more fitting that we can come together to unveil a new logo. Mind you, Women's Desk has not just starting, it's not just starting today. It has been in existence for quite some time. We have seen the logo of Women's Desk, but with the restructuring of Women's Desk, we thought it fit that we give it a little more sprucing up and make it look more for the times. Women's Desk, as we may know and we may not know, falls within the Department of Community Development, Family and Humanitarian Affairs. Quite a long word, quite a new department with the family and the humanitarian aspect of it. However, Women's Desk is directly related to family affairs. Now, those of you, and I know there are some of you who were around when Women's Desk was initially inaugurated in 1998 by the late Edgar Lynch, he stated at the time that Women's Desk should not only be a place for women's issues or for women's rights to be challenged, but, and I quote, he said, it should also serve, Women's Desk should not only serve the needs of the female population, but should work in collaboration with men, thus improving the quality of life on the island. And I dare to say that this is what Women's Desk has been doing over the last 17 or so years. Although the name says Women's Desk has been integrally involved in working with women and families, with the goal of strengthening, empowering, bettering the situation of women on the island so that they can have a better and a more equal position within the community of St. Martin, and by extension, their families will also be empowered and strengthened. And by extension, again, we'll have a better society. Now, I would want to also say that for my person, I'm relatively new at Women's Desk, and I look through the audience and I see people like Joy and Casilda, and I know they have always been, particularly, and Miss Elaine Gums-Flawn, they have always worked with women's issues and has always been on the forefront with women's issues. But I also am aware that while we have struggled and we have gained a lot of positives and we have had a lot of accomplishments, there are still a lot of things that are left to be done. And I dare also say that within the family, there's much to be done, because when we look at family life within our community, it leaves a lot to be desired. So we at Women's Desk has a great task ahead of us. I will not keep you any longer. I'll move straight along and I will invite Miss Joy Arnell to the podium, and she would give us a brief history of what took place after the inauguration of Women's Desk.
It is really with great pleasure that I stand here today, though I am sure that if Elincia was honest, I would tell her why me, considering that I think there's someone who has spent more effective years, so to speak, at Women's Desk at its initial stage. And therefore, though she's not expecting it, I'm going to call Casilda van der Neu to join me here this afternoon. Casilda, don't worry. I'm not going to put you more on the spot. I just wanted to be officially recognized that at the time of the opening of the Women's Desk, Casilda took the lead and definitely carried out the task of Women's Desk and ensuring that women issues were addressed, women's concerns were addressed, that women could come to the Women's Desk, to the office, and always was pleasant and informative in whatever way she could to ensure that women were helped.
And men.
Wait, I reached that part yet. However, I also want to today acknowledge that, having stated, as Elincia stated earlier, that the International Women's Day being yesterday, and that the Women's Desk actually came out of a cry that originated in Beijing, of which some of our women also took part. We had 189 countries that signed that declaration at that time, and the women came back full of energy with a determination that two things had to happen in St. Martin immediately. One was Women's Desk, and the other one was a home for battered women, which turned out to be Safe Haven. And I want to make mention of some of the women that championed that at the time: Miss Monica Apong, Miss Elaine Flan Gums, Ivy Sherwood, let me go to my notes, Eulalie Myers, Elsha Bosch Wilson. These women, I think, I'm looking at Elaine a little bit because I think that they railroaded the commissioner at that time, so to speak, because they would not give up and just insisted that we had to have these two organizations put in place as soon as possible. And in 1998, that took place with the establishment of the Women's Desk and simultaneously also Safe Haven. The first person working in Women's Desk was Purita Illich, if I'm not mistaken.
No.
You first. You came in. You came in first, and then Purita came
way after Maria died.
Oh my gosh, I'm confused. You see, this is to show you my mind. But persons who work at Women's Desk were
It was me for
Casilda
a while.
van der Neu.
Yeah.
And she worked alone and championed the causes, as I mentioned before, by herself for quite some time.
Until you were clean.
Then Maria Kreuthoff and myself joined, and as the tripartite of determination, we carried out a full-fledged set of activities, from challenging women's organizations to continue to step up to the plate and address women issues, to embracing men and actually initiating at a certain moment discussions with men to form a body of organization, the man-to-man organization, where men would come to Women's Desk also to support other men in their fight to ensure the wellness and the well-being of women, men, children, and as such the families. Because from the very beginning, one of the key issues of Women's Desk is the recognition that if you take care of that woman, you take care of our entire family. Because at the end of the day, whether we want to always admit it or not, women guide, nurture, and they're the strength of their families. Today we're here to discuss the emblem, and though I cannot fully state why that emblem, I could only imagine that at the time, the tree was looked at as that strength that women has. It was looked at as being the foundation of that family, and with the branches, the embracing of not only their own, but the society at large. And carrying on that strength, carrying on that determination to ensure that the activities of the Women's Desk is not limited at any time, is not seen as any time as solely for women. We always looked at how can we ensure that the others came aboard. I do want to say that in the recognition of yesterday and today, we have in New York as we have the Council of the Status of Women starting today, the Minister Plenipotentiary, Mrs. Josiane Fleming, represents the minister at this activity, along with one of the policy workers at Social Development. And in their preparation, they looked at how does the Beijing platform, the declaration and the platform, 20 years later, that's what they're discussing, what does that stand for St. Martin? And we can honestly say that St. Martin has made strides. But have we arrived? No, we haven't. There's much that still can be done. And I want to quickly just state that the ECLOC, looking at the situation of women and women's advancement in the Caribbean area, actually recognizes 3 areas that are still challenges today. Challenges that I think could also still apply for St. Martin and things that we have to continue to work on. So I look at Ida, Elencia, Malaika, and the rest of the team, because in as much as the guys, I'm looking also at the other workers, because it's a collaborative effort with the entire team of persons that are at community health, community development, family and humanitarian affairs, along with other organizations and other departments in our society that will have to ensure that we can reach where we can honestly say that in line with the Beijing declarations, we have arrived. We have arrived. And the challenges are autonomy and decision making. As such, they would like to see more strengthening in gender mainstreaming. And though we have made advance in the legal and institutional framework that ensures men and women to have equal access to all areas of decision making, and not only at the state head, but also to be done in businesses, in labor, and the union sectors. We also look at challenges in the economic autonomy, overcoming gaps in employment and wages, and insisting on legislative developments and the creation of a culture of equality, and to establish and advance in policies that establish shared responsibility in the household and the care task. And lastly, but not the least, physical autonomy, strengthening policies to address violence against women in the area of prevention, education, and access to justice, in addition to the sanction and assistance to victims, and to ensure that there's access to public reproductive health services and overcoming gaps in service delivery to guarantee the reproductive rights of all women, and in particular to the poorest women of the society. I wanted to say that, yes, Casilda, thank you. We've come a long way. And then I look at Ida and the team heading the new team, that there's a lot still to be done. And while I'm sure that on behalf of everybody, we could pledge support, we look towards you for your directions and directives as we move forward.
I'm going to ask that, I'm going to put somebody else on the spot right now. Right? It's a day about putting people on the spot, and as women, we are always ready to go whenever we are called. Not so? All right. So, I'm going to ask my dear colleague, Dr. Asin, to help us just recognize the ladies, and we have a little token of appreciation for the women who would have worked in bringing this department to fruition. It started with the project document, and those ladies are not present with us at the moment. But those ladies were, at the time, was Bernadette Barry and Richelda Emmanuel. They worked on the project and having it anchored within government, within the government structure. And then we started off with Miss Casilda, who took the helm at the time, and she ran with it. And as Joy adequately and eloquently stated, that Casilda championed along with others the cause of women on St. Martin. So I invite Ms. Casilda to come. Let's give her a round of applause, please. Yes. Yes, you can remain. Thank you. I also invite Miss Joy Anel. Miss Joy Anel came in after and she took the help as women's desk. Thank you, Joy. I'll call the names of the others. Miss Purita Illich, she's not present with us today. We also have Miss Denise Weber. She's in Curacao. She's studying at the moment. I'll call now the person who's now heading the department, Miss Ida Hallman. Come, Ida. You too.
This is the Surinamese way.
Thank you, Ida. Yes. I'll call on Malaika Malin. Come, Malaika, you too. Malaika is present day. She's working with us at the moment. Okay. Who's absent here this afternoon is Minerva Maku. Minerva Maku, I think it was in 2005, she came on board with Women's Desk, and she, along with Casilda, and who remained at that time, worked in doing things for women. She sent her apology. Unfortunately, she could not be here due to other commitments. And of course myself, but I will not call my name. You know my name. No, not yet. Not that one yet. And this one.
This is one yours?
Mm-hmm.
This is what happens when you call volunteers. They take over. I now call on Miss Elencia to also receive her token of appreciation.
Thank you. Now I want to save the last person, and I think it's intentional. This lady is a very special lady to us within the community of St. Martin. Not only in the area of women's work, but she has been a social worker at heart. And that is Miss Elaine Gomes-Flawn. Last year she was acknowledged and honored by the St. Martin Social Workers Association. And I also think it is fitting because she has always been the champion of families on St. Martin. Miss Elaine?
You know how they call this a koso? And you do a koso when you give something to a most honorable person. Ooh.
There you go. Among the staff at Women's Desk were two, we all know was Miss Maria Kreitoff. Unfortunately, Maria went home to be with the Lord, and we want to give recognition for her time at Women's Desk. So I'll ask you to please stand as we give a moment of silence for her. We also would like to recognize the commissioner at the time who felt it best to enact Women's Desk into policy. That is the late Mr. Edgar Lane.
I'm here with the dual cap. I'm starting with my CPS cap first. I'm the head of Collective Prevention Services, which is also a department of the Ministry of Public Health, Social Development and Labor. And in the beginning, during the introduction, it was also mentioned that yesterday was a very important day for women. Yes, it was International Women's Day. And I'm going to cite for you what the UN, the Secretary General of the United Nations, said in his speech about International Women's Day, which the slogan for this year is empowering women, empowering humanity. Picture it. And he said, to be truly transformative, the post-2015 development agenda must prioritize gender equality and women's empowerment. The world will never realize 100% of its goals if 50% of its people cannot realize their full potential. Listening attentively to all the speakers before me, We also heard that everybody is convinced about the future where we have to go with women's desk. We talk about gender equality. We heard about gender mainstreaming. So although it's a women's desk, we don't focus only on women, we focus on women, men, children, and the community. But we have to empower the women because we know it takes a woman. We say to raise a community to raise a child, but it takes a woman to raise a family. That's why it's very important, and that was the message of the Secretary General Ban Ki-moon. For the theme of this year, he also say that he envisions a world where each woman and girl can exercise, and I want to stress the word exercise, her choices, such as participating in politics. We have enough examples of that. We need much more. Getting an education, having an income, and living in societies free from violence and discrimination.
A happy Internationals Day to all of us present. I am not in no way disregarding the powerful men that are present with us, but today we're celebrating us for today and the rest of the month, rest of the year, and the years to come. It is indeed an honor for me to be here at the unveiling of our new logo for Women's Desk. I must say, I first became aware of Women's Desk way back in my youthful age of 16, maybe, when I met Joy Arnell. This was when Women's Desk was still on Front Street, and the wooden building, you have to climb that staircase to get up. And with collaboration of Miss Arnell, also with some artists in the community, Clara Reyes, we brought awareness to the public through, and this will be surprising, MP Cornelius de Weaver and myself. We were involved in one of the productions, Love You to Death. And that production, it displayed the abuse that a woman had to go through and the strength of the women, that the things that we face in our daily lives, and the strength that we have to overcome these different issues. Talking about that is like you want to put it on again. We'll play different roles. And during that play, I played the character of the neighbor, and every time I saw the performance, I said to myself, the person playing the role of the female victim was Gerta Hodge, and for the world of me, every time she got abused, I got angry. And you had to really put yourself in character and say, don't go and beat the male actor because of how aggressive he was towards her. And then the other awareness that we brought to the community was the vagina monologue. And when persons hear the vagina monologue, they think intimacy. But the vagina monologue was developed to bring awareness to women in terms of their strength and different issues, the different cultures amongst women that they face. So I was proud to be part of those two productions in collaboration with Women's Desk back then. I would like to say, women of St. Martin, women on St. Martin. Yes, the theme is empowering women, empowering humanity. Picture it. Let's make it happen. And I say that to Women's Desk, and I say that to the young women of St. Martin. Our abilities are infinite, and the result of our exhausted energies generate great value at the world at large. We have all accomplished great things. Nevertheless, there are still women who are not being able to express themselves freely. Women on St. Martin, let's energize our spirits and celebrate everything our local and international women have achieved, especially taking the time to acknowledge our dear mothers. One of the speakers before me mentioned that it takes a woman to raise a family, and I totally agree. Being raised by a single mother of 5 children, and I can proudly say thank you, mother, for that, because it shows us strength that no matter how many challenges that our mother faced, she nurtured, and I can say this in a very positive manner. She nurtured 5 positive, well-rounded individuals. There are many other women on St. Martin, and just to name a few that I admire in terms of what they have achieved. Dr. Anders Nillardijn, the Ombudsman. Our first Prime Minister, former Prime Minister, Sarah Westcott Williams. In the arts, Nicole de Weaver, what she has done, going abroad and receiving honors amongst many other persons. Tamara Leonard, her strength and her fight, and that awareness that she has brought to many women in our community in order to stay strong and fight against cancer. That's just to name a few of the strong women that we have here in St. Martin. I request of all of the women's organizations, Phenomenal Women, and all of the other organizations that was mentioned before, to join together, join forces, and let's unify the women on St. Martin. Let us stand together and recognize the worth in us as women. Let us promote each other towards the advancement in many other fields, especially those fields, no offense men, that are dominated by men. Let us support each other and let us stand by each other and be each other's sister. For without each other, we might not reach to those pathways that we can reach by the encouragement of our fellow aunt, sister, niece, grandmother, or mother. I would like to encourage our young women, along with the initiative of Women's Desk, to get creative. And again, let us make it happen. Maybe you want to study in a field that is dominated by men and don't ever feel that is a far-reaching goal that you may never see. For profound significance and empowerment to women in St. Martin, I seek to acknowledge the month of March, officially known as the month of women's history. This will be elaborated later on during the month. But I would like to continue. I always end my speeches by saying, may God continue to bless all the women and men on St. Martin. And may God bless St. Martin. Thank you.